and close promptly according to the circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want to ask that everyone who is able to please rise and face the east as we recite the Moorish American prayer. Okay, Islam Moors.
All right, Islam, as we stand facing the east with our heels together, feet at a 45-degree angle, holding up 2 fingers on the right and 5 on the left, please repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam Moors, want to announce this meeting is now open. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple 30, Columbus, Ohio. First and foremost, we always rise here, giving the highest of praise to the Most High, to our Father God, Allah. We extend honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. We extend honors to the forerunner to the prophet, dear brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we extend honors to the Moorish and the American flags. We also extend honors to our charter and its 10 wonders, and we extend honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother E. Millie Ill. We extend honors to all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and we also extend honors to the office of the Supreme Grand Sheikh and Supreme Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam Moors, Brother Jackson Bey, would you please read our divine constitution and bylaws?
Islam Grand Sheikh, I rise giving all praise to Allah, honor to the Prophet Drew Ali, honor to the forefathers and foremothers, and honor to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world.
Join the meeting.
Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2, all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on the Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God alive. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government.
Join the meeting.
And know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office of Noble Drew Ali, Home Office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace and love, Muslims.
Islam and gratitude, brother. Brother Kobe, would you please read our writs?
Islam Grand Sheikh, arise and give honors to the great God Allah, arise and give honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, rise and give honors to the four on the Marcus Messiah Garvey, rise and give honors to all ills and babes, all Muslims on call and on the planet. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is instruction from your prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather, divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me in the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I need finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nation of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islam. Happy Sunday, School Mouse.
Islam and gratitude, brother. We will now recite our additional laws and divine warning. Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finances, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their ADUP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on a meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality in their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the Prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights, unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law, in the city hall, and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and every fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet. All right, Islam Moors. You Moors hear how many times the prophet uses that phrase, my people, in the divine warning? And the divine warning isn't just for us, right? It says a divine warning by the prophet for the nations, right? Nations with an S. So I want to talk on this real briefly. So he's using that word nations plural. So in a plural sense, so we're not just talking about the Moorish American people. We're not just talking about the Asiatic states of North America. We're not just talking about America, right? He says the divine warning for the nations, right? By the prophet for the nations. And so he keeps referring to my people, my people. All right. And I want to talk about why he's doing this. So, hang on, Morris. Pardon. All right. So the prophet's making a divine warning to the nations. And he says, I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens. Okay? He's coming to his people first and foremost. Even though this is a warning to all the nations, he's coming to his people. And he's saying that for those who doubt whether he's the prophet, my principles are right for the redemption of my people. Go to those who know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under a favorable tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. He said, you know, when he's calling upon all true American citizens of the United States of America, help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government, right? I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, right? He loves his people and he desires our unity, right? to get back to our own free national and divine standard. And then he says again, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost. And that is through the above statements, saying again that speaking about us, right? That if our principles, our divine principles, are not carried out by the citizens and my people of this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. He's not saying the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works being performed by so-called white people, by anyone else. He's focusing on us, bringing it right back to us. Now, remember, this is a divine warning by the prophet to the nations. He's not just speaking to us. He's speaking to all the nations. He's letting it be known that we are carrying out sin. The great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. So the prophet is letting it be known that the conditions that we're in, the things that we're doing, is bringing about the judgment of Allah. And he was prepared to warn his people to repent from their sinful ways, right? Go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles. Why is he speaking to us? Why is it us? Everything is on our hands, right? The wrath of Allah, if we don't return to the ways of our forefathers. And we see that in chapter 45 in the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate and know of their higher self and lower self. We have to do this. Even if it's just a small community of Moorish American Muslims that are doing this work, we have to do it. This is the uniting of the Holy Koran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. Remember, the prophet was speaking to us, my people, right? The great God of the universe is not pleased with the works being done by my people. Why his people? Because the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. So there's no one else we can blame for the conditions of the world, the conditions that we're in, right? The punishment, the judgment that is on now, it's the works of us, our people, us. We have to come in and follow the prophet and get it right. As long as we're fumbling or we're not doing what we're supposed to, the judgment is on, right? He said great earthquakes, right? Terrors coming to the land. And they're actually here. We're witnessing it. We're seeing it come along, but it's what we're doing that's bringing it about, because the key to civilization was and is in our hands. So if we don't know we hold the key to civilization and we're not being civilized, we're trying to force our present condition of our endeavorment in which we are trying to force upon a civilized world, right? If we won't refrain from our sinful ways of action, right, we're bringing harm to all human beings on earth, not just us, right? Because we hold the key to civilization. Now, I don't think anyone else is going to admit that about us, but the prophet let it be known. So we must remove this great sin from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. No one else is going to do anything about it. And he said diseases, doesn't matter if they're man-made diseases, doesn't matter what's going on. That's part of that earthquake, diseases, etc. Right? It's coming about because the great God of the universe is not pleased with us, because we hold the keys to civilization. So we have to get it right. We can't count on anyone else. So when the prophet is showing his symbolism, the great meeting is on. Anytime the Moorish Science Temple of America is meeting, it's important, of the utmost importance, for us to be there, for us to get these lessons, to internalize and begin to embody this, and then take it out into the world. Why? Because from out of the Sunday schools will come the guiders of the nation, right? And so we must understand, when the prophet is lifting fallen humanity out of the cares of the world, on one hand, yes, we must uplift the woman, but the woman is symbolizing unconscious fallen humanity. The fact that it's an unconscious woman, right? She's out of it, and she has humanity written on her hip, on her dress, right? That's someone who's vulnerable, right? So any of us who's unconscious, we're in a vulnerable position. We're drowning in the cares of the world. We want to be standing on this solid rock of salvation. We left off, I believe, when we were doing the questions, we left off at 84. So we'll pick right back up at 85. We'll just go through the questions together, and let's just open up the floor for Moors to demonstrate. Share what you've learned. Share. Well, of course, if you have questions, feel free to speak your questions, but demonstrate what you've been learning, whether you've been here in the temple for years or for months or weeks or whatever. And especially if you haven't been in here that long, please feel free to speak up, whether you have questions or just, any insight, anything that you've been learning over time, right? But let's go into question 85. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774. And we have Negro, Black, Colored, and Ethiopia, right? And so this is just laid out there for us. And we have to understand what's actually being said. The Moors of Northwest what? Northwest of Mexico, Northwest Africa. But then you have Negro, Black, Colored, and Ethiopian, which aren't terms that were put on people on the other side of the Atlantic, not so much as what people on this side have had placed on them, meaning North America, and even in Central and South America, and the Atlantis Islands, right? Jamaica and all those places. All of these people got those tags on them. All right. And then in 1774, that's a year before the American Revolution. And that's also 2 years before the American colonies declared their independence from the British Crown, right? That occurred in 1776. And you had all of these different European nations. All of them were being represented in the Americas and in the early colonies. And they are the ones who started the practice of labeling the Moors of Northwest, right, of Northwest Africa, Morocco, with those marks, with the names, with the marks of scorn. And so, we understand a mark, when you mark someone, that's, even in slang terminology, a mark is somebody who's easily deceived or victimized. A victim, a sucker, that's a fall guy. That's the patsy, the mark. And you can get that actually from the New Thesaurus, American Heritage Dictionaries, 1995. But so that mark, that term was placed on us, right? That's like when you slap somebody on the back and put a little kick me tag on them. So we got that mark put on us with the purpose and intent, even though we may not have understood the intent. Some of us did, but most of us did not. So it was meant to disconnect us, to separate us from our true history, from our culture. The attack came, and then the prophet goes further in. Negro. What is meant by the word Negro? Negro, a name given to a river in West Africa by the Moors because it contains black water. And we actually have a Negro River in Brazil. It's a tributary of the Amazon River. And it actually contains black water. And you can actually physically see how that river, the waters don't mix when it meets with the Amazon River. The Amazon River waters are brown and the Negro River water is black, right? So you actually can see that physically with your own eyes when it happens. I don't have any pictures on the screen, but you can look that up yourself, right? But this is a term that just means black. This isn't something that should be applied to any humans at all. Even some of the scholars like the late J.A. Rogers, he spoke about that term Negro. At that time, his people were going by the term Negro, and he addressed it, right? He spoke about it, saying that the Negro comes from the Niger, the River Niger. Now, the River Niger doesn't exactly have black water. Maybe portions of it does, but we've already discussed that, how it does, or previously in other other meetings how it doesn't really have black water. But that same author, J.A. Rogers, said Niger, Niger, is the ancient African word from which evolved Negro. Spanish term Negro is a corruption of the African word Niger, and that was just a term that meant black. Like they're saying he was saying that basically there was a river that had black water in West Africa. And then you also have John G. Jackson, another one of our historians, said there's an urgent need to discard the term Negro or Negro Africa and the word Negro and all that it implies. This word grew out of the European slavery and colonial systems, and it fails to relate the people of African descent to land history and culture. So there were people who understood that this was used to disassociate us, even though at those points in time in the early 1900s is what their people were going by, right? So it was a dupe that was put upon us to separate us from who we are. Of course, you're here because you understand that, right? Then the prophet was also referring to the term black, which in the 1920s, our people weren't even going by black, right? They didn't even like using that term black to refer to themselves, but we can see that, hey, this is what our people go by. They, without any problems, even though even less than 100 years ago, even up into the 1940s and 1950s, people didn't really like that term. They hadn't embraced it yet. But he said, what is meant by the word black? Black, according to science, means death. We've shown that before too, right? In this same Sunday school class, in previous classes, showing how when he's saying black according to science means death, there actually is a science that associates the term black with death. And it's real, and it's kind of scary because people have no idea what they're doing by just going along with this stuff. And when we go along with this, we're putting this on our children. We're putting this on the innocent, bringing them up with this. And they don't realize that you're going along with something that specifically, separates you from humanity and places, basically, I mean, even worse than a kick me sign, like you're dead. You're dead. Okay. One example though is just gematria. We've shown how black, Negro, these terms are actually aligned with corpse, right? They're actually aligned with death. They carry the same energy signature as these other words, which imply death. And then it's also tied to slave, right? And it's wild. You can do that to people. And even if we don't understand the science behind it, we still suffer the consequences of it. Right. So there's no way out of it. You're not excused from the law of gravity just because you don't understand it. Right. Or just because you don't believe it's real. Right. You still are going to have to deal with that. It's a very real, law. And this is how it works with this science that the prophet's referring to here. Black according to science means death. It really does. What does the word colored mean? Colored means anything that is painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. We all know that, right? When you color something. What does Ethiopia mean? Ethiopia means something divided. The Atlantic Ocean used to be called the Ethiopian Sea or the Ethiopian Mar. Mar means sea. You can see that on older maps, ancient maps. So it was a divider, right? Dividing the Eastern Hemisphere from the Western Hemisphere. Can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? No. Why? Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of Allah. So we don't use those terms at all, even though, yeah, sometimes we have to communicate with our people and they're not going to understand if we're trying to tell them something else. But other than that, we don't use those terms, right? What title does Satan give himself? God. Will you define the word white? White means purity. Purity means God, and God means the ruler of the land. Okay? And when we see this, the way that this is worded, what title does Satan give himself? This is saying that the people who tricked these people were purely representing the lower self. And so they gave themselves that title of God without us even realizing it, right? It was slick with it. They didn't just say, oh, yeah, I'm God, right? They took on the term white meaning having nothing to do with ethnicity, skin complexion. It's a title in a caste system. It's at the top. To whom do we refer to at times as being the great God, Allah? Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? No, he is a shadow of our lower selves and will pass away, right? So the devil, this foe, this lower self that became a foe that we must overcome, it's just a shadow of our lower selves and will pass away. So it's saying that even though it's become a foe now, once we've overcome it, once we've subdued it, once we put that lower nature back in its proper place where it's a servant, right? This whole devil, Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast thing will cease to exist. Right? So if you had a servant who is taking advantage of the fact that you don't know who you are, and he's making everything wrong and doing everything in a harmful manner, once you put them back in their place, oh, they cool now, right? Because they're not supposed to be running the show because it's not fit to run the show. And so who made the devil? Elohim. Who is Elohim? Elohim is the 7 creative spirits that created everything that ever was, is, and ever more to be. What is Elohim? Sometimes called the 7 eyes of Allah. How many days are in a circle? 7 days. How many days are in creation? 7 days. According to science, how many days are in a year? 7 days. Islam, Moors. And on that note, I just want to open up the floor. If anyone has any questions or anything that you would like to share, just on questions 85 through 101, please feel free to speak up, especially people who joined this year, and some of the members who've been members for well over a year now. Please share your insight or ask any questions you have. And on that note, Moors, want to hear from you. I yield the floor. Islam.
Islam Grand Sheik. Can I be heard?
Islam, brother. I yield the floor to you.
Yeah, so I have a question about just getting a full understanding for 92 and 93. And so I know it says that 93 says, would you define the word white? White means purity, purity means God, and God means the ruler of the land. And so I was trying to see, so I'm gonna understand. So what is it? So why wouldn't we call ourselves white? Since like in the Bible, in Psalms 82, it says that I have said that you're gods and you're children of the Most High. And technically, Allah left this land to us. And so technically, we're supposed to be the rulers. And it's kind of like the European did like an identity theft to us. And so why wouldn't we call ourselves that? I just wanted to know. And with that, I give up the mic.
All right, Islam. That's definitely a good question. When we talked about in one of the previous classes, we were talking about the question, which is given the 5 personalities of the lower self, and you have Satan, and Satan carries I guess you could say, the personality of being a deceiver who invites others to disobedience, right? And so you see these characteristics, right? When you see someone who's giving themselves the identity of God, right? Trying to deceive people, giving the other people this identity that links to all of these negative things, and then placing themselves in that title of God, right? We definitely don't want to follow that example. We don't want to do what these people who were basically only serving the lower self did. Because the reason why you would have people who would band together and decide, hey, we're going to give ourselves this title, is because they were strictly being ruled by their carnal nature. The carnal nature is just going off of fear, scarcity, lack, thinking that you have to get over on others, you have to deceive others, lie, cheat, steal to get over. So we don't want to copy what they were doing. You know, they were pretending to be God. But in pretending to be God, they're trying to give themselves this boastful name, right? We don't have to do that. We can go by our line of descent just like everyone else in the world. We're not trying to say that certain people or other people don't have the creator in them. We know the creator's in everyone. We're not trying to disconnect anyone. And we're also not trying to set ourselves on high above everyone, right? Like, oh, we God, you guys aren't. We're not trying to do that. That's one of the things also is another example of what was given to us for most of us in Christianity. We were given the, Jesus is God, or Jesus is the Son of God. Even though that went against the what Jesus said himself, and Jesus is actually coming to let humanity know that we're all connected to God. Like, don't place me on this pedestal. Don't put me up here, or he's telling people to imitate him. Just like the prophet said, imitate I the prophet. He wants people to do what he's doing, right? He's not just his father, Allah is everyone's father. So what we want to do is imitate all of these prophets. We're not trying to set ourselves up on high. Like we want to set the example. We want to show the way. We want to be connected to our higher self and show by example, not by words or titles. We don't have to wear the title God, but we do need to demonstrate and show the strength of Allah, the love of Allah in our actions and deeds, and inspire others also to start to change their actions and deeds so that they can now unfold Allah within them. But we don't want to just wear some title, because if we do that, we're going to have the same issue that the Europeans that did this to us had. We're trying to wear this title, pretending to be God, trying to impress others. And it's, we don't want to go that direction. That's not the example the prophet set for us. I know there are some Moors that try to say that, well, yeah, we're white. I'm trying to, wear that title too. Right. But, we follow the example the prophet said. The prophet did away with all of those colorable terms. We're not calling people yellow. We're not calling people red or white or black or brown. Right. We get away from all of that. And we definitely also aren't trying to continue a caste system. We're not trying to put European people at the bottom. We're not trying to put anyone at the bottom of the caste system. We're coming to do away with that. And we must understand that too, Moors. We're not coming to try to punish other people and then have the whole cycle going again where we're going to have to learn our lesson and we're going to have to eventually get punished too. We're coming to do away with that. Islam, brother. That's a good question though. But yeah, we follow the example the prophet said. That's the simplest way. He did away with those terms.
Yeah, Islam. I don't see another hand up. So I have a like kind of like a comment type thing, and this is weird because I was doing some reading because for a while I had got taught against the Bible, but like recently I had been reading it a lot, and like 2 days ago I was reading the Bible, and it brought me back to what you were teaching because you were saying like the whole land of Canaan was basically bigger than what they try to make it today, and I noticed something deep in the Bible because I thought it was just like the Hebrew Israelites were like the disciples or apostles of Jesus because he had like his 12 apostles. But you pull up in the Bible where it says in the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 4, it says Simon the Canaanite was one of the apostles of Jesus, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And that's chapter 10, verse 4. And so it's like it seems like there's like little hidden things throughout the Bible, and that was like really big to me when I read it a couple of days ago. And with that, I'll give up the mic. And that's Matthew chapter 10, verse 4, Simon the Canaanite. So we had a Canaanite that was one of the apostles of Jesus.
Islam, brother. Gratitude. Yeah, gratitude for sharing that. That's my first time hearing that. Yeah, definitely. There's jewels in there. And then there's also other books of the Bible that were, left out for different reasons when the Europeans were compiling Christianity for themselves. So there's a whole lot of lessons in the Apocrypha, and then other books like the Book of Enoch, right, which contain a lot of measures that would connect us to as Moabites, to Jesus, and to all of the other prophets, or the main prophets that are listed in the Bible. So yeah, definitely. But I just want to say gratitude for sharing that measure. Islam. All right, Islam, brother. Yabe, I see you. I yield the floor.
Islam, I re-rise to my highest heights, giving all perfect praises to our Father God Allah, and I give honors to our divine prophet, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and our illustrious prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I kind of wanted to camelback on a statement that the brother was saying, and I wanted to see any additional comments that you might say. When looking into the question and answers for 93, with it being said that when you define the word white, and white means purity, and purity means God, and God means the ruler of the land. I was thinking of it from an aspect of a Moorish scientist way of thinking, because it's in our 101s, and in the book itself, it speaks about how John is the example of purity, and through John, you can only comprehend love. So to be the pure, that's the only way you can be loved, or you can understand love. So white is more like a title of anything. And if we're going in here, it speaks about how Allah had it for us to be the Lord of all the kingdoms of soul, and also the Lord of all the plane made manifest. So technically speaking, we are white as in the title, not in this form now, because we gave up our birthright. But technically speaking, we should be aiming to be the God that's within ourselves, as in the end of chapter 1, speaking about how we are supposed to unfold, that seed is supposed to unfold to manifest into Allah. So that's at the end. So technically speaking, we are supposed to be holding ourselves to be God, not just Moorish Americans though. Everybody that's in the garb of flesh. Islamism.
Islam, brother. Gratitude for sharing that measure, and much appreciation. I see you, brother Jackson Bay. I yield the floor to you.
Islam, peace and love. I was just sitting here thinking, and what Yabe said, I was like, man, that's things I'd be thinking about. But I was thinking like, man, I think the way you can answer that question is, we gotta bring more clarity, is that we gotta define what or who the devil is. You gotta be direct with that. So, but then it says right here, it says, who made the devil, the Elohim, but so, and no, not that one. It says 95, is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? And it's like, no, he is the shadow of our lower self and will pass away. So he's the shadow of the lower self, right? So of course we're not calling ourselves God. So what's the mechanism of us not being able to call ourselves, you know what I mean? Because other than explaining that, well, in legal terms, we shouldn't use these color games, you know what I mean? But if we want to define ourselves as white, yeah, that seems like the most, because we logically thinking about it, right? We're not coming out of juke joints in the 1920s, right? You feel me? So I'm thinking about it logically and how to convey it now. So it's like how could we define the devil? And right here it says the devil is the shadow of the lower self, not the lower self exactly. So what is this actually saying? What is the shadow of the lower self. So exactly what is the lower self? So we could pinpoint and, you know, get down to the fact and get, you know, is Islam. So I'm bringing that out. Somebody else could bring out to what, how do y'all think about it? You know what I mean? Because that's how I'm thinking about, like, how can we define this devil? How you think about it, brother Douglas? Or y'all bet either one. Peace on.
Islam, brother, that's a good question. Brother Hainzel, did you want to respond to that question?
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
Islam.
Yeah,
Oh
Islam.
yeah,
So okay, so what I get from what Yabe another brother put together, I completely understand that question completely, because one of those cells, basically we have two cells, so we have the higher self and the lower self. So therefore, technically, right now we cannot consider ourselves white or God, because we still have that lower self inside of us. So therefore, it would be deception, because we had a lower self, so we can't use that title now, anyways. And that kind of goes with what one of the other brothers was saying, something about we gotta reach the status of becoming ourselves gods. And basically, the only way we could do that is to get rid of the lower self. And so basically, right now we still have two selves right now, and that's how I was looking at it. And it's like now I got a better understanding now. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam. Islam. And so yeah, gratitude to everyone for sharing. So going back to this question, like what really is the lower self? Is it saying, is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? No, it's a shadow of the lower self and will pass away. So it's not even the lower self, it's a shadow of it. So the lower self actually has a purpose for us physically when we take on physical bodies in the world of manifest, the physical world, right? And so the lower self has a purpose to keep the body alive, right? Islam. So it actually has, you know, a reason for being here. However, in chapter 1, right, it's saying that perfected man must pass through all the ways of life. And so a carnal nature was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from fleshly things, right? Like it is strictly a physical thing, this carnal nature. But without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so this carnal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, that he might be the strength of Allah made manifest. So this carnal nature soon became something that was so strong, right, that it began to overtake our own connection or understanding of our true nature, which is spirit, which is one with Allah. And this was all preordained to happen for us to forget, not know who we are, and then to eventually realize who we are and overcome even this foe that seems so strong that it can't be done. Right? Remember in the Bible, right? You have the creation. Man is created last. Allah goes to sleep, but never wakes up, right? He wakes up as the creation. And at first, you have Adam walking around. He's in the Garden of Eden and he's talking with the Creator. He's one with the Creator. He's connected to his higher self. But then, once the decision is made to gratify this lower self, you're disconnected now. Get out there in the wilderness and survive. Right? The flaming sword is put up. You can't come in the garden no more. Because when you choose to gratify the lower self, that means you're making the decision to go ahead and forget, to become this physical being, to become this creation. Right? Like in the video game world, you know, you're just playing Call of Duty or whatever video game you're playing, 2K. You know, you're just playing the game. But what if you thought you were the character in the video game? And now you actually in the game trying to survive. Right? That's why it says, man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplasm, of mineral, of plant, of beast, but he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. We gave up our birthrights just to do this. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Why can't it be told in words? Because you got to experience it. We have to be the strength of Allah made manifest. We can't talk about it. We can't read about it. You can't see it played out on a screen in front of you. You just got to do it. Yet he must suffer trials and temptations manifold. But let him know that the cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and the spirit of the mighty Allah who rule the solar stars are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. So man will be fully saved, redeemed by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. So when man has conquered carnal things, his flesh, his garb of flesh will then have served this purpose well and will fall, will be no more. But, right, everything that we're doing here in the physical is just to prepare us for the next level. It doesn't end. Even on the plane of soul, right, there are unnumbered foes which will stand before man that he must overcome, yea, overcome them every one. So none of these things that we're doing are done for naught, meaning the things that you're going through in this world, it's not just happening for no reason at all. Even as you pass from the physical form, the things that you overcame here will help to strengthen you in the plane of soul, right? Because we cannot die, right? So when we've conquered every foe upon the plane of soul, the seed will have fully opened out, will have unfolded in the holy breath. The garb of soul will then have served this purpose well, and man will need it nevermore. So we're going through this, and now we've received guidance from Allah through a divine prophet to assist us in this task that we all must do, and also to remind us of this task that we must do. And it's being let known to us that, hey, all of the prophets that came before, the prophet Noble Drew Ali is letting us know he was Jesus, right? They always come through with this message for mankind. After time, people get away from the message, or they even change the message up. That's another reason why we don't change anything that the prophet brought. But on that note, though, I want to yield the floor. See Brother Jackson Bey and then Brother Yabe. And please feel free to go in that order. Islam.
Islam, everything you said, I kind of like agree with. So you kind of like said where I was going with it. So Islam, we yielded to Yahweh.
Islam, the good brother Jackson Bey, my brother. I like the way you think as well. So I did a little lesson. I've been studying, I've been going back and going and actually using this like an actual book, like I was researching in school or something of the sort, but on myself. So when I went to the lower self, right, it tells us in the 101s that the lower self in 65, what is the devil sometimes called the lower self. In chapter 3, it gives you what the lower self is. So the lower self, the cardinal self, the body of desires, is a reflection of the higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. Our flesh is the murky ethers. So it also tells us that the lower self is an illusion. So this flesh that we think that we are in a sense, this is just a murky ether. To our eyes, we see it as physical. We can touch it, but it's the murky ethers. It's a distortion, right? From our higher being. So we have the higher self that's in us, that is clothed in soul. So all of these things that are going on all at one time, this distortion of the murky ethers, the lower self, we call this devil. But the higher self, which is in us, which is the spirit, is Allah. That is God. So it's like the example of, I remember the cartoons that used to have the God on the angel on one side and the devil on the other side. And it's like one will be speaking to you to do one thing and the other one will be speaking to you to do the other one. That's like the higher self and the lower self, the examples. So I love this class. I love coming to the meetings every Friday and Sunday because it makes me think. It makes me think. And not only think, it makes me want to chip away and live this life to see what it would be like to make this seed, this human seed, unfold to be Allah manifested. Islamism.
Islam, brother, beautifully said. I see you, Brother Jackson Bey. I yield the floor.
Islam, gratitude, I agree. With you, but I'll just take it up a notch further, right? Because the flesh is one thing, right? That's the lowest self. But think about it. So when you don't got the flesh, right? You don't got the lower self no more. Because my thing is this: it's distorted by the murky ethers. The murky ethers is the flesh, but like, what, what's the root to the problem, right? Like, if we was really super religious, what's the root to the sin, right? Why are they sinning? Why are they? What's the root to the problem? So I think, the lower self is not the flesh per se. It's the negative mindsets we might have as people, going through this human being in the flesh, looking at the glass half empty type thing. So like, like with the Quran, you feel me? Like we learn about vanity, right? That's one of the foes. That's the worst sins. And we learned about inconsistency, right? Insufficiency of knowledge and stuff. So cause I feel like if we don't conquer these while we in the flesh, right? And these are states of mind, right? When we die, we don't got the flesh no more, right? And we're the flesh like a crutch. We could always blame the crutch, right? We could always blame the flesh. I mean, right? I mean, it's a scapegoat, right? What's the real problem? The problem, we ain't got certain things in our life in check, like vanity and inconsistency. We don't understand why we miserable. You feel me? You know what I mean? Just certain things that the Quran goes over. So I think to add that, to the caravan, peace and love.
Islam, Islam to you both. And one thing, just listening to what you said, like one thing that I was thinking of is that, if this is a school or if this is similar to a school being in the physical world, the things that we learn here or that we overcome here, right? Like you're saying, vanity and just some of these other vices, the things that we overcome here in the manifest, it just further strengthens us, right? As we make the transition into the next realm. And if we don't do it now, we're still going to have to overcome it. When we read in our Quran, when it's explaining what the soul is, which we were actually just doing, like over the last couple of weeks, speaking about our higher nature, higher and lower nature. So when you're speaking about what the soul is restless. The soul, can go in any direction. Whether it's high or low, can take you to the lowest depths where you on the streets doing drugs. It can take you to the highest of heights where you're doing great things, accomplishing great, achieving all your goals and everything. And so if we're not feeding the soul here, to our higher principles, right? Because it's searching for truth, right? So if we're not connecting it to truth, to Allah, and doing that here in this physical realm, we're still gonna have to do that work on the other side. It's not like you just, when you die, you're an angel, you're perfect, right? You're still gonna be at that same level mentally, trying to figure things out because it says you have unnumbered foes on the other side. So it's like, why not figure out and conquer and accomplish as much as we can here? You know, not to beat ourselves up about things that we're struggling with, but why not do it here, right now? And when we in the flesh, it's real hard in the flesh. So why not, do it now while we have this lower self to overcome? Islam, instead of taking these same vices like to the next level with us. Yeah, Islam more. But yeah, if anybody has any feedback, any questions or comments, please, Morris, feel free to speak up. Islam, I yield the
Islam,
floor. Islam.
peace and love. I just want to add, like, think about it. We got to take it to the next level because we're 2024, right? So like, well, it's not. We don't really know what year it is, right? Like, but it's how we grew up, right? It's 2024, right? But so think about it. Like, what if the vices we have right here, we got to conquer on this realm, and there's no other realm to conquer it. and the vices are connected to mental states, right? That you can only solve on this plane. So we got to solve this plane. And then we believe in reincarnation too, right? So it means we're going to be in this nice little karmatic wheel, right? But for copyright reasons, we just want to stick with Moorish stuff. So like we just gonna keep on reincarnating in the plane of manifest, right? Until we finally conquer it, right? So it might take some times, but we got the teachings to understand it because these are teachings of all ages. Because what if you get to the soul plane and you can't even get to the like, yeah, you wanna like, what if like this is just throwing it out. What if we pass on, right? But we just go to the realm of things made unmanifest. You ain't even really touched the soul realm yet. Because the things that's unmanifest, right? Like the things that's in our brains, right? And the things that's in our thoughts that we don't manifest, right? Because we know you know, for social norms and stuff, we don't manifest them, right? So we don't do them, right? We like you don't even get to the soul realm until you conquer everything that you came here to conquer, right? So like you saying, you feel me? Conquer everything that we can right now. Don't be hard on ourselves, right? But we do have to conquer them because what if we get to the next realm, and it's like a whole nother other realm? We can't even get on the boat because it says death's a boat, right? Like death's a friend of mine, right? The whole boat, right? You can't even get on the boat to the soul plane until we actually conquer it. So, just thinking, putting the emphasis on, conquering the lower self, like what it really is, our mental states, and you know, and our mental states is very simpler, way simpler than we really think, I think. And I think the prophet was divinely guided to understand that, to get that to us. I'm gonna be quiet, I'm talking too much. Islam.
Islam, brother. Gratitude for sharing. I see, brother Yabe. I yield the floor.
Islam. I'm rocking with Brother Jackson Bay. Look, I feel you. I feel you on a lot of instances, but I will go into this. I've been going hard in here, pause, especially in like in the Holy Koran, chapter 11, right? This is deep. It says, "Let us forget the flesh and go with mind unto the land of fleshless things. Mind never does forget." In chapter 11, they went into the land of fleshless mind, the fleshless things here. So they were in present time. So they was either meditating and left. So it was a mental state. I'm just throwing this out here. I believe we go into the land of fleshless things every day. Not only sometimes when you meditate at will, or when you just go to sleep. Because when you go to sleep, you're not in the flesh anymore. Technically, you are in what we call a dream state or a REM state. So there's no flesh there. It's not missing.
Islam, brother. Right on, brother. Islam. Gratitude, brother. Are there any other comments or questions, Morris?
Islam, we can get deeper. I mean, because remember, just to add, because you gotta think, man, the soul plane probably way bigger than we think. Like, and the plane of manifest bigger than we actually think. We just could reduce it to the fleshly things, right? Because Jesus, when he was in the cave, hold on, I got the Quran right here. You feel me? Hold on, it said, Jesus, hold on. Here we go. Hold on. My bad. I'm sorry. I should have been way more prepared. But it made me think when you said that when Jesus it said now Jesus did not sleep within the tomb. The body is the manifest of the soul, but the soul is without its manifest. And into the realm of souls unmanifest, the Lord went. Okay, so I got more clarity. See, I was going somewhere with it, you feel me? But it's just like you said, like we go to a whole different realm when we sleep or when we meditate. You know what I mean? So it's just like, uh, so and then Jesus, he was in the state, he was kind of messed up, and it didn't say he was meditating, but he wasn't asleep, right? But so just showing the power of the brains and stuff, and I think he was able to access because, and this is why I say it's too like a probably levels to the soul plane, because it's like in the realm of souls unmanifest, the Lord went and he taught, right? But I don't think if Jesus was able to conquer his three devils, right? His lower selves is, the first temptation asking for the bread, the second temptation to go preach down in Jerusalem, the third temptation to be a politician, right? You know what I mean? And when he went for the 40 days of self-observation. So I don't think if he was able to conquer that and also, conquer his own vanity, his own misery, his own humanity, basically his own five folds of man, he wouldn't even be able to access the where he had went and sat in the councils with the patriarchs and the prophets of olden times. And it says he broke the chains of the captive souls and led the captives to light. And he opened up the prison doors and set the prisoners free, right? And this is metaphoric, right? Obviously, right? For certain, you know, not to get super religious, but you can't even access certain aspects of the soul plane until we conquer our lower selves, and that's mental states. And once we conquer mental states, certain things don't come out in the flesh. You know what I mean? So that's where you had me going with it, brother Yabe. But Islam, I'm gonna yield the floor. Peace and love.
Islam. Yeah. Gratitude. There definitely are gonna be certain things or aspects that we probably couldn't understand from a physical perspective, especially when we're talking about the higher realms in the realm of the soul. But when we look at chapter 38, it's giving us divine instructions on the soul of man, but it's really giving us these instructions so that we better understand our charge, so that we better understand our duty here in this realm, so that we're not taking this life for granted and thinking, oh, I ain't gonna overcome the lower self. It's pointless. Why even try? So when you go to verse 10, it says, speaking about the soul, although she shall live after thee, think not she was born before thee. Right? She was created when we came into this manifest. She was created with thy flesh and formed with thy brain. Formed with thy brain, right? So if Allah, not an if, Allah's multiplied himself into all these, beings that think we're individual. We don't even think we're connected. And we gather in all these life experiences and going through all of this. It's all happening for a reason. It's necessary. And so this soul that we have that is not physical, it's formed with our own brain. The experiences that we have, the experiences that we entertain, the thought process that we entertain, the direction that we choose to go in, is forming this soul. Okay? And remember, in this same chapter, it's giving us reasons why we should go in a higher direction, right? Because it's letting us know whatsoever may do good may also do harm. Beware that thou direct its course to virtue. Think not that thou canst lose her in a crowd. Speaking about the soul. Suppose not that thou canst bury her in thy closet. Action is her delight, and she will not be withheld from it. Her motion is perpetual. Her attempts are universal. Her agility is not to be suppressed. Is it at the uttermost parts of the earth she will have it, right? If we want to go in that foul direction, if we want to find out how deeply down to the depths we can go, the soul is fearless. It's going to go in that direction, right? Is it beyond the regions of the stars? Yet will her eyes discover it. Inquiry is her delight. As one who traverses the burning sands in search of water, so is the soul that thirsteth after knowledge. Guard her, for she is rash. Restrain her, for she is irregular. Correct her, for she is outrageous. But more supple is she than water, more flexible than wax, more yielding than air. Is there aught that can bind her? There's not really anything else that I can think of that's like teaching us this about our own nature, right? So we have this soul that's not physical. And so from the physical perspective, we must have enough discipline to put in this work, and not only subduing our carnal urges, but also we're training the soul, we're forming the soul. We're doing the work for the next level right here in the physical world. Don't ever waste a day. Don't ever waste a moment. Be present in every moment. We must always be Muslims. There's no turning it off, right? Because we must guard the soul. We must guard her, for she is rash. Restrain her, for she is irregular. She will go in any direction, can cause good, can also cause harm, right? And so we're training. We want to direct the soul towards virtue. We want to direct it back towards Allah. And that's something that, you know, if we don't figure it out in the physical, that you're still going to have to learn it somewhere. And in chapter 1 is letting you know, like, that, you know, the lessons that you have to learn on the soul plane, it could be ages. It could be many, many ages. It could take forever, you know? Not that that's like a punishment or something, just saying that, you know, we're here and we're not just here for no reason at all. We're here to do this work now, right? To get it done now and to take it to the next lesson. So it's no waste. Nothing that you're going through, nothing that you have to overcome is being done just for no reason at all. It doesn't become wasted, right? It even has impact at, you know, in the afterlife, right? Or after your physical life is over with. Because what you learn here, what you overcome here, it strengthens you. It you know, especially we're directing our soul towards virtue, right? Because it says upon the boundary of the plane of soul, there he must overcome, yea, overcome them every one. Like there's a multitude. He tarries many ages until his lessons are learned. So we want to do the work now. And we want to do the work there. We must always be in the moment, and you know, we can't give up, right? We're given this task, we're given these divine instructions and this understanding that we're multidimensional beings, right? So it's all happening right now. So the work that we're doing now is also strengthening us on the plane of soul. The victories that we accomplish now, even if they're little tiny victories that only you know about because it's something that you overcame, right? It's affecting us on multiple levels. And that's why I believe the prophet's giving us this understanding of these other aspects of us. He's given us enough so that we know, okay, this is why I'm doing it. We're not even just doing it for this physical world. We're doing this for the multidimensional you, this difficult to understand, right? The you that's everywhere at the same time. Islam. And on that note, Morris, I yield the floor. If there's any other questions or comments, Morris, please feel free to speak. I say one more thing too. They're starting to make more movies about stuff like that, like the multiverse, right? Where there's all these different versions of you, right? But we're not just talking about that. We're also talking about like in other planes of existence, right? But that's the thing. The work that we do here right now is affecting us on multiple levels that we can't even imagine. So nothing is being wasted. Islam, that's also extra motivation to be the best version of ourselves as possible. Islam, I yield the floor, Morris.
Islam. I just got a question. I would say everybody got to get off the phone, but tomorrow national holiday. I don't think a lot of people got to work on that. So just gonna ask this question. I think this could be the last one. Uh, what exactly is the seventh creative spirits? Like how can I tangibly understand that? You know, if I'm just like a tangible person, which I'm not. Y'all know me, but I'm just saying, like, how would you look at it like that? Uh, the exact seven creative spirits. Peace and love.
Islam. First and foremost, I'd like to rise in perfect praise to our Father God Allah. Honors to his prophets, Noble Drew Ali, and all of Allah's prophets. Honors to the forerunner of the prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh, a brother evenly ill, and honors to all you Muslims. It was definitely great build this evening, family. I just want to exercise my 5 on that question, brother Jackson Bay. So how I see that is, so as above it, also below. So Allah gave us visuals, right, for everything that represents above and below. So if we take this to the cosmos, right, we take it to our solar system. Okay, so when I study the body, I see the body is a direct representation of the solar system. Okay, so with Allah being the head, that will be the sun, right? Because the sun sustains all the planets revolve around the sun. So there's 7 planets, right? Each of those planets are manifested within us, okay? So we got the 7 wheels, that's the 7 powers, that's the 7 Elohim. So that's how it breaks down. And this is how I see the truth for myself. Everybody can have different levels of understanding and however it resonates with them, because we are all here on our own time and our own assignment. So we don't all have to see everything exactly the same, because we're not all here for the same purposes, Islam. So the 7 chakras that's within our bodies are the wheels within the wheel. So the planet, or the Elohim, had to manifest within this flesh, this cardinal self. So manifested within the 7 powers that's directly centered in our bodies. And so each of those chakras represent their own worlds, if you will, their own characteristics, right? They each have a higher and lower self. And so when we study cultures all around the world, we can see how those 7 chakras or those 7 Elohim have been personified and kind of like deified, well, put into different, like the Orishas, for example. You could find the Orishas in all different stories all over the world. They'll call them different things, but it's still 7 creative powers. And they each represent different emotions, different elements, different feelings, different, I mean, if we study the chakra, I don't want to get, it's going to take a long time, but if we study the chakras, like, you know, I do, I think, I see, I feel, I am, right? So those are all how those 7 powers manifested within us. And if we're not in alignment, those 7 powers, like one of those 7 powers can rise up and use your body as the vehicle in this world, because everything has a consciousness, and everything that has a consciousness contains the ego, and everything that has an ego wants to experience life as a human on this planet. So that's when we have to understand that there's so many energies, you know, that are trying to, like I said, trying to use us as a vehicle. And I'm not saying some are bad or some are good. I mean, things are just things. It really depends on how they manifest in you and your emotional and mental state that allows things like what she said, the soul to rise up, which is the characteristic of those energies to rise up and take over Islam. But that's how I see it. I yield the floor. Peace and love, family.
Islam is definitely a good question, and gratitude, sister, for addressing that too. So yeah, definitely you have, like when we're explained that there's 7 creator spirits, right? 7 Elohim. You can see the as above, so below. Within the body, there's actually 7 systems. You have on the physical level, you have the digestive, the respiratory, the circulatory, nervous, skeletal, muscular, and the excretory system. You also have the 7 energy centers. That's the 7 the along the spine. You have the 7 chakras, and these are the unseen or the spiritual aspects of us, where you have like the astral body, the etheric body, the physical body, these different I guess you could say different levels, right? To our, our unseen or uh the the energy body, right? That we have. And it's explained to us, we're given the visual of the Elohim, like when it's explained to us that these Elohim are actually like divine emanations from Allah. They're thoughts of Allah, the same way as we're thoughts of Allah. They're alive, teeming with life, literally alive, just like we are alive. They're living spirits. This is described in there specifically so that we understand that these are actually living, thinking, beings. They're spirits, right? They're described as being transcendent, right? They're divine thoughts of Allah, but they also exist on their own, just as we do, right? And they're over different stations of creation. They're each over different aspects of creation. So we're given this understanding so that we can picture and try to comprehend something that's actually incomprehensible, right? That there are governing bodies that are over different aspects of creation. And that's really, I think that's the simplest way to explain it, that you actually, that Allah created, beings that are actually over different aspects of creation. And I think that's like the simplest way to explain it. And that there's no mistake about it, that they're actually alive. That's why we even have that specific wording in the Quran, that these are living, thinking beings that are, over creation.
Islam, Grand Sheik, I got a question to
Islam,
ask.
Islam, brother.
I wanted to camelback on the thought that you made, that you said, because I went into chapter 11. And in chapter 11, from Allah's own record book, 24, men call these ether planes the planes of protoplasm, of earth, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel, and of cherubim. That's 7, isn't it?
Islam, that's right.
So my thoughts were, because 25, going to what you just said about these planes with all their teeming thoughts of Allah are never seen by the eyes of man and flesh. They are composed of substances far too fine from fleshly eyes to see, and still they constitute the soul of things. Is those the seven Elohims, at least in a way that we can see them? And I know that we take information all the time and we put them in a way that we can understand them. All of us have different ways of understanding, but I think from where I'm at right now, I used to think outside the box a whole lot, and I still kind of do. But as a Moorish American, I want to go to the book first now to get my thought and to utilize the tools within the workshop of the mind to create this God man that Allah has given us. Let's say he deemed us to be the Lord of the plane of the plane made manifest in the soul plane. So that's why I go here first. And I just wanted to know if I was on point, at least in the right area when I'm reading this Islamism.
Islam definitely so it's being announced to to all of creation, even to the angels and the cherubim and the seraphim, to bow down to man. This being who's going to become probably the most savage, wicked being on, in existence. It's going to go through this process of not even remembering it is connected to the creator, and everything's going to fall with it, right? Even the earth. When it's saying the earth, for us, the earth is everything because that's where we live. But that means the planets are alive, right? Because the earth isn't the only planet. Well, some people might think differently, but the earth is not the only planet. So that means even at that level, at the planetary level, these celestial beings, these celestial things are alive. So all of this fell. Everything began to vibrate slower and take on a physical manifest, the same as we did, to go through this process, right? But it's all, just going back to the question about the Elohim, because they're also described as the 7 eyes of Allah, right? The eyes are watching, right? The eyes are the sentinels, the watchful vigilance, they watch to make sure that we're safe, right? So you have these eyes of Allah, right? In chapter 11, it says that the triune Allah breathed forth and stood 7 spirits before his face. This is letting it be known that Allah multiplied himself out 7 times. And they're over each plane of existence, right? The protoplasm, the earth, the beast, plant, man, angel, and cherubim, right? So there's an Elohim over every different aspect of creation, right? Covering everything. And this is just letting it be known that, okay, this is the station that man has. We must fall to our own carnal nature and then rise and overcome it, right? But we have a station, right, as the vice regents of Allah, where we are the representative of Allah, literally, and we are lords over these different planes of existence. So that means that we actually have mastery over all of this, or all of these things are supposed to listen to our commands, right? And we're given this understanding with these 7 Elohim, these 7 different stations, and we see that in the governmental level with the different nations, like this country, for example, where they'll have when they form a government, they'll have these 7 different secretaries, right, surrounding whoever the head is, whether it's a governor or a mayor. They have that because on the microcosm, on the smaller level, this is how you keep a watchful eye, right? The 7 eyes of Allah, the 7 Elohim. This is how they watch over the affairs of the city, the town, or the state, or the country, even in the entire country, right? So it doesn't matter if it's the governor of the state or the mayor of the city, the grand sheikh of the temple. We have that 7 eyes of Allah watching over. This is how creation is explained to us, how it works. And so when we take that same blueprint, and apply it to ourselves, we're working in accordance with Allah so that we can be successful. So this is also why this visual is being given to us, right? With these 7, distinct spirits. You have these, different heads that are over, the different aspects of creation. So this is given to us too, so that we can make sure that our communities are, whatever that we're doing, whether even if it's within your company, we apply these same aspects to our life, right? And we want to try to do that in everything that we do to ensure our success. We are going over, so I do want to go ahead and start to wrap things up. I will just ask one last time, if there's one last question or comment, we could go ahead and address it. Okay, if there's no questions or comments, want to announce without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting. Since we have already read all of our writs and laws, we're going to go ahead and close out. If there's anyone who has not proclaimed their nationality that is interested in learning more, proclaiming, please go to MoorishAmericans.com. You can go to our website, and you can always go there and just reach out to contact us. We have a contact button on there, and you can set up a phone call, or you can just send a message. We'll reach out to you, talk further. And also, we would like to ask anyone who feels compelled to assist us in the great work of uplifting fallen humanity, please send a donation to our temple. So at MoorishAmericans.com, just scroll down, use the donate button to send a donation to our temple. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and close this meeting out. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I ask only if you're able to, please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. You do not need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name and the seven Elohim. Amen. Islam, Moors, peace and love.
Peace and love, family.
Peace and love, family.
Don't forget to join Moorish Monday for our travel club. We got some good information coming out on our upcoming trip. If anybody's interested in joining the Moorish Travel Club, definitely reach out. We'll send you a form. We have a Facebook group going on. This is about to be special, family. Peace and love.
Peace and love.